Beyond 115 days. That is how long Nancy Guthrie has been gone. Not a body found, not a suspect named, not a single confirmed sighting since her pacemaker went silent at 2:28 a.m. on February 1st, 2026. But here is what makes this case addictive, what keeps millions refreshing their feeds at 3 a.m., what turned an 84-year-old grandmother into the most searched missing person in America. The evidence keeps talking, even when the investigators stop speaking. A hair sample that might name a killer, a doorbell camera that captured a ghost, ransom notes from hoaxers and maybe from the real thing, a sheriff who promises an arrest is coming, a daughter who returned to morning television while her heart remained broken, and a true crime live streamer who found human remains 7 miles from her home, remains that turned out to be prehistoric, ancient bones that had nothing to do with Nancy, but everything to do with how desperate the world has become to find her. This is not a cold case. This is a case that is still burning, still generating heat, still demanding answers that nobody can give. This is the Nancy Guthrie disappearance as of May 2026, and this is everything we know. Subscribe now if you are watching this. As we reveal cases as a way of educating and sharing what we know, support us by taking a few seconds and hitting the like and subscribe button. It costs you nothing, but it makes a real difference for this channel. The most recent development in the Nancy Guthrie case as of mid-May 2026 is both a promise and a frustration. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos, who has been the public face of the investigation since day one, told local station KOLD in an interview published May 13, 2026, that he still believes an arrest will be made. "I believe at some point in time we will make an arrest on this case," he said. "We're not going to give up on it just because it's been 100 days.
I believe at some point in time we will make an arrest on this case, and we're not going to give up on it just because it's been 100 days.
The statement came one day after the case officially crossed the 100-day threshold, a milestone that, in missing person investigations, often signals the transition from active search to cold case status. But Nanos was adamant that this case is not cold. "There's way too much work to be done that is ongoing with some of the physical evidence we have," he said, "and we're not going to give up on it just because it's been 100 days. The work he referenced is happening in laboratories, both in Florida and at the FBI's facilities across the country. It is happening in digital forensics units where cell phone data is being analyzed. It is happening in rooms where video footage is being reviewed frame by frame. And it is happening at a pace that Nanos acknowledged feels glacial to the public, but is, from an investigative perspective, exactly what the case requires. The DNA evidence, the mixed samples found inside Nancy's home, the hair sample that was sent to the FBI for advanced analysis, all of it is being processed with a deliberation that prioritizes accuracy over speed. Because the worst outcome, Nanos knows, is not a delayed arrest. It is a wrongful arrest. It is a case built on rushed forensics that collapses in court. It is the destruction of prosecutorial credibility that would follow a mistake in a case this visible, this scrutinized, this consequential. The 100-day mark also brought a new wave of public attention, much of it driven by celebrity involvement. Khloe Kardashian, on her podcast, Khloe in Wonderland, described Nancy's disappearance as heartbreaking and expressed disbelief that there was still no concrete evidence of her whereabouts.
Nothing? Like, we don't, that is mind-blowing.
I can't even believe that, but I'm also like very conspiratorial. So like,
me too. I don't know if I know enough about this case, but like all the things I was reading about the brother-in-law and that kind of stuff, I'm like, oh.
We did a whole like episode in our fan club where I was like, you guys, there's like weird stuff happening in the background.
The ransom notes going to all the media outlets
TMZ,
first.
I know.
How weird was that?
I know.
It's so much. And I can't understand that in 2026, there's not, like you said, that's what, I don't believe that there's not one piece of information. They're not telling us.
They're not telling us,
Yeah.
which is like so common with law enforcement, right?
She can't understand that in 2026 that there's not one piece of information they're not telling us. She was joined by Crime Junkie podcast host Ashley Flowers, who noted that law enforcement withholding information is standard practice in active investigations, that cases that appear stagnant from the outside are often generating significant progress behind closed doors. Sheriff Nanos confirmed this, stating that information is withheld not to keep secrets, but to protect the case. But it's not done because we got to keep it secret. It's done because we got to protect our case. The tension between public demand for transparency and investigative need for secrecy is a defining feature of the Nancy Guthrie case. It has fueled conspiracy theories, generated false leads, and created an environment where every social media post by the family, every statement by law enforcement, every rumor that circulates online is parsed for hidden meaning. The Kardashian-Flowers conversation brought this tension into the mainstream, validating the public's frustration while acknowledging the professional constraints that make that frustration necessary. The family of Nancy Guthrie has navigated the 100-day milestone with a mixture of public engagement and private agony that has been documented with unusual intimacy. Savannah Guthrie, who returned to The Today Show in April after a 2-month absence, has been performing a high-wire act that few television personalities have ever attempted, hosting a live morning program while her mother remains missing, while the investigation into her disappearance generates headlines that she must report on or be sequestered from. The Today Show has implemented strict protocols for this situation. If breaking news about the investigation occurs during the broadcast, Savannah is removed from the set. Another anchor handles the story while she processes the development privately. This accommodation, which was reported in early May, speaks to the unique collision of personal tragedy and professional obligation that defines Savannah's current existence. She is not merely a journalist covering a story. She is a daughter living inside one, and the network that employs her has had to construct an infrastructure of care around her that is unprecedented in morning television. On Mother's Day, May 10th, 2026, Savannah posted a tribute to her mother on Instagram that was both a celebration and a plea. The reel compiled home videos and family photographs showing Nancy taking selfies with Savannah, spending time with her grandchildren, and in one poignant clip saying, "Miss you." The caption read, "Mother, daughter, sister, Noni, we miss you with every breath. We will never stop looking for you. We will never be at peace until we find you. We need help. Someone knows something that can make the difference." The reel was viewed millions of times, generating a new wave of tips to the FBI and Pima County Sheriff's tip lines. Savannah's husband, Mike Feldman, added his own tribute, posting on Instagram, "To the strongest person I know, surrounding you with love on Mother's Day." The broken heart emoji in his message spoke to the reality that this Mother's Day was not a celebration, but a marker of absence, a reminder of the empty chair at the table, the unanswered phone call, the grandmother who was not there to receive her grandchildren's cards. The family's public posture has remained consistent since February. They are ready to pay, ready to listen, ready to do anything to bring Nancy home. But the $1.2 million reward, the $1 million from the family, plus $100,000 from the FBI, plus $50,000 initially offered, remains unclaimed. The phone lines remain open, and the silence from the other end of those lines continues. The forensic landscape of the Nancy Guthrie case has evolved significantly since the early weeks of the investigation, and the developments have been both promising and maddeningly inconclusive. In mid-April 2026, ABC News reported that a potentially critical DNA sample had been sent from a private lab in Florida to the FBI for advanced analysis. The sample was described as mixed DNA from more than one person, a complex biological puzzle that required separation and identification before it could yield actionable intelligence. The Pima County Sheriff's Department, responding to reports about the sample, issued a statement on April 17, 2026, clarifying that they had worked with the FBI since the beginning of the investigation and that the private lab in Florida continued to share information with FBI labs across the country. DNA analysis remains ongoing, the statement read. It was the first official communication from the department in nearly a month, a silence that had fueled speculation about interagency conflict and investigative stagnation. The FBI's role in the case has been the subject of public tension that erupted in early May 2026. FBI Director Kash Patel, appearing on Sean Hannity's podcast, claimed that the Bureau had been kept out of the investigation for 4 days after Nancy's disappearance. The first 48 hours of anyone's disappearance is critical, Patel said. It's a state and local law enforcement matter. What we, the FBI, do is say, hey, we're here to help. What do you need? What can we do? And for 4 days, we were kept out of the investigation. Patel described how the FBI, once engaged, had recovered doorbell camera footage by working with Google to access cached data that would have been deleted without subscription service backup. He also stated that the FBI had offered to analyze DNA evidence at its Quantico laboratory, an offer that was not initially accepted. Our lab's just better than any other private lab out there, and we didn't get a chance to do that, said Patel. The Pima County Sheriff's Department pushed back forcefully against these claims, stating that Sheriff Nanos had provided immediate local leadership and oversight, that a member of the FBI task force had been present at the scene from early on, and that coordination with the Bureau had begun without delay. The public spat, which was addressed by Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche in a News Nation interview, revealed tensions that are common in multi-jurisdictional investigations, but are rarely aired so openly. Blanche acknowledged reports of friction, but emphasized that the FBI was in complete cooperative mode with the local law enforcement. The disagreement, while uncomfortable, does not appear to have disrupted the investigative partnership. Both agencies continue to work the case, and the DNA analysis, whether conducted in Florida, Quantico, or both, remains the central hope for a breakthrough. The DNA evidence in the Nancy Guthrie case has become a subject of intense technical and public interest, with each development generating headlines that promise resolution while delivering only incremental progress. The hair sample, which was sent to the FBI in mid-April, represents a distinct category of evidence from the mixed partial sample that had confounded investigators earlier. C.C. Moore, the leading investigative genetic genealogist at Parabon Nanolabs, explained the difference in an interview with Fox News. A hair sample, once cleaned for contamination, yields a discrete DNA profile rather than a mixed sample requiring deconvolution. Not after it is cleaned for contamination, Moore said. They have that process in good shape, but it can take some time. The distinction is crucial. Mixed samples containing contributions from 3 or more individuals require labs to mathematically separate overlapping genetic profiles, a process that can take weeks or months and still yield incomplete results. A hair sample, properly processed, can provide a cleaner line to a suspect, a profile that can be compared directly against CODIS or used for investigative genetic genealogy. But as of the latest updates, the hair sample had not produced a CODIS hit. The database, comprehensive as it is, only contains profiles from convicted offenders, arrestees in certain jurisdictions, and forensic unknowns from other crime scenes. If Nancy's kidnapper had never been arrested, never been convicted, never left DNA at another documented crime scene, CODIS would remain silent. And so the investigation waits, not just on technology, but on the possibility that the answer lies outside the system, in a profile that has never been entered, in a suspect who has never been caught. The other DNA evidence from the scene has followed a similarly frustrating trajectory. Blood on the front porch was confirmed to belong to Nancy. A suspicious glove recovered approximately 2 miles from her home, which appeared similar to those worn by the masked suspect in doorbell camera footage, was tested and found to match neither any known criminal in CODIS nor any sample from inside the home. The glove traced to a local restaurant worker who was cleared of involvement. The mixed DNA sample from inside the house, which authorities have said contains at least one male contribution, remains under analysis. Sheriff Nanos has described the process as moving at a snail's pace for observers, but at exactly the right pace for investigators who need certainty before they can act. Whether it's on the digital end or the biological end, DNA, Nanos said in his May 13th interview, it moves at a snail's pace, I guess for some, but for my investigative team and for me, we look at this as, no, this is doing exactly what we need it to do. The patience is strategic. An arrest in this case, when it comes, must be bulletproof. The prosecution must be able to demonstrate beyond any reasonable doubt that the DNA connects a specific individual to the crime scene at the specific time of Nancy's disappearance. Anything less would be a gift to the defense and a betrayal of the family's 4-month wait for justice. The ransom note phenomenon in the Nancy Guthrie case has been a source of confusion, exploitation, and genuine investigative concern since the earliest days of the disappearance. Multiple communications have emerged, each demanding payment in cryptocurrency, each including details that range from obviously fraudulent to disturbingly specific. In early April 2026, TMZ reported receiving 2 new purported ransom notes from the same individual who had contacted them in February. The first note demanded half a Bitcoin in exchange for information about Nancy's location and the identity of her kidnapper. The second, sent shortly after TMZ went live with the story, claimed that Nancy had been seen alive in Sonora, Mexico, a state that shares a major southern border with Arizona, approximately 70 miles from Tucson. The FBI was alerted to these communications, and their authenticity remains unverified. The possibility that Nancy was taken across the border adds a layer of complexity to an already challenging investigation, introducing international jurisdiction, cartel involvement speculation, and the logistical nightmare of coordinating searches across national boundaries. But the ransom notes have also been a vector for hoaxes and exploitation. Derek Colella, a 42-year-old California man, was indicted by a federal grand jury for transmitting ransom demands to 2 members of the Guthrie family on February 4, 2026. Colella's trial is scheduled for June 23, 2026, at the federal courthouse in Tucson. He claimed he was following the case on television and pulled the family's information from a cyber website. His indictment serves as a reminder that high-profile cases attract not only legitimate tips, but predators who see opportunity in tragedy. The digital and surveillance evidence in the case has also evolved, though not always in ways that generate immediate leads. Google announced in mid-February that it was attempting to recover additional footage from home cameras in the vicinity of Nancy's residence, accessing cached data that would otherwise be deleted. The doorbell camera footage released by the FBI on February 10, 2026, remains the most significant visual evidence. A masked and gloved individual, approximately 5'9" to 5'10" tall, average build, carrying a black 25-liter Ozark Trail Hiker Pack backpack, approaching Nancy's front door at 2:12 a.m. on February 1st. The suspect attempted to disable the camera, first by physical tampering, then by covering the lens with foliage from a potted plant. The footage was recovered from Google Nest back-end systems after the FBI's intervention with Google leadership. The suspect's face is obscured by a mask. His gloves prevent fingerprint recovery. His backpack is generic, available at major retailers. But the footage provides behavioral evidence, the deliberate approach, the awareness of surveillance, the methodical attempt at concealment. These are not the actions of an opportunistic burglar. They are the actions of someone who planned, who watched, who knew Nancy was there. The video generated thousands of tips, none of which have yet led to an identification. The suspect remains a ghost, a figure defined only by what he did and what he carried, not by who he is. The Nancy Guthrie case has also generated a phenomenon that is increasingly common in high-profile missing person investigations: the intrusion of true crime content creators into the physical search space. In early May 2026, a true crime live streamer discovered human remains approximately 7 miles from Nancy's Tucson home, near the intersection of River and Craycroft roads. The discovery triggered immediate speculation that Nancy had been found, that the 4-month search had ended, that the family would finally have an answer, regardless of what that answer might be. But the Tucson Police Department, after forensic analysis, determined that the remains were prehistoric. They were ancient bones, unrelated to Nancy's disappearance, disconnected from the case by thousands of years. The incident served as a macabre reminder of the desperation that the case has generated, the willingness of amateur investigators to physically search terrain that professional teams have already covered, the hunger for resolution that transforms every discovery into a potential breakthrough. It also highlighted the risks of true crime content creation when it intersects with active investigations. The live streamer's actions, while well-intentioned, introduced contamination risks, generated false hope, and diverted law enforcement resources to a lead that was never viable. The case has seen other examples of public involvement that complicated rather than advanced the investigation. Social media rumors have led to false reports of new persons of interest. A sheriff's department post about a different missing person named Nancy Radakovich, who was found, generated backlash when users mistook it for an update on Guthrie. The Pima County Sheriff's Department was criticized as tone-deaf for not including the last name, a reflection of the hypersensitive environment surrounding any official communication about the case. The future of the Nancy Guthrie investigation remains uncertain, but it is not inactive. The FBI command post, initially established in Tucson, was moved to Phoenix in late February 2026 for operational efficiency, though investigative squads and evidence recovery teams remain in Tucson. The shift does not indicate a downgrade in priority. It reflects the reality that much of the ongoing work, DNA analysis, digital forensics, tip processing, does not require physical presence at the scene. The specialized resources, including the FBI's hostage rescue team from Quantico, Virginia, remain available and can be redeployed to Tucson within hours if a breakthrough occurs. Savannah Guthrie has announced that she will host a primetime game show based on Wordle for NBC, production delayed by her mother's disappearance and now scheduled to film in Manchester, England in summer 2026. She acknowledged the strangeness of pursuing professional projects while her heart remains broken. "Everything is strange right now," she said. "It's strange to get up and do the Today Show every day, and it's strange to say that I'm going to do a game show when your heart is broken." But she is determined, she said, to put one foot in front of the other. The family's $1 million reward remains active. The FBI tip line, 1-800-CALL-FBI, remains open. And Sheriff Nanos's promise that an arrest will come, that the case is not cold, that the evidence will eventually speak clearly enough to name a suspect, remains the official position of the investigation as of May 2026. Nancy Guthrie has been gone for 115 days. She is 84 years old. She needs daily medication for a heart condition. She could not walk 50 yards alone. And somewhere, in the desert or in a city or in a grave, the truth about what happened to her in the early hours of February 1st, 2026, waits. The evidence is still being processed. The detectives are still working. The family is still hoping. And the case, against all odds, is still alive.